Hello, I'm Holly May, and I'm a proud member of the Board of Directors of Kindring. And I'm also thrilled to chair this year's Salute to Courage benefit. I'm the mother of Barrett May, who has been receiving services from Kindring since he was 18 months. So my family moved to the Seattle area about 2 years ago. I actually moved here for work. And Barrett was 18 months at the time. And at that point in time, when we had relocated from San Francisco, he had been tracking on all of his developmental milestones. He was a very healthy kid, and we really had no expectation that anything would not go as planned. And when we arrived in Seattle, we put him in daycare for the very first time. We thought it important that he get a social experience, and he very much enjoyed it. I also got to commute with him because his daycare was on the first floor of my office building. But through that, I started to notice differences. He wasn't waving. He wasn't clapping. He wasn't responding to his own name. And I panicked. The first thing I did was we called our pediatrician, our very new pediatrician, given that we had just moved to town. And we brought him in, and she did a thorough evaluation. It took about over an hour. And then I heard the words I never thought I'd hear, that I would need to have my son evaluated for autism. My world stopped. I didn't know what to do. We were new to town. We barely had a pediatrician. It was our first appointment. And we didn't know anyone with children on the autism spectrum at that point. No friends, no family members. It couldn't have caught us more off guard. And the pediatrician was very helpful. She gave us the list, and for those of you parents who are familiar, it's that long list of providers, places where you can go to have your child evaluated. But she did warn us that those wait lists were between 12 and 18 months long. But she also told us about Kindring, which, looking back, I'm really not sure what we would have done had we not gotten the advice to call Kindring. She told us that Kindring was a place that we could go while we waited on those long wait lists to have the formal evaluation, to look into early intervention services. So we went home. I went into action mode as a mother, trying to manage the situation, trying to find any semblance of control that I could in the midst of this earth-shattering moment. And I called, all the centers that do autism evaluations, and she was absolutely right. 12, 18-month wait lists, and I just went into more of a feeling of panic, feeling like there was nothing I could do. But as she suggested, my next call was Kindring. And through that, within 1 week, we had an appointment to have him evaluated to see if he was eligible for early intervention services. So we came in, and immediately we knew that he was going to be well taken care of. In most situations, coming into a new environment, he might panic, he might cry, he might not know where he is, but he was immediately at ease here. And I credit that to the providers who made him immediately comfortable. So through that session, we became eligible for those services, and we almost immediately, I'm telling you, it was within a week or two, we're set up with both a speech therapist, an SLP, as well as an occupational therapist. And he was able to get those services while we waited to have him evaluated for autism. We were very lucky as a family, as he was evaluated within 3 months of that date, and we received that diagnosis. But we never stopped working with Kindring. Even when he became eligible for ABA services, it was very important to us to stay with Kindring, to stay with his OT and SLP that he had been working with. But it was the organization as a whole that had a really big impact on us because it felt like a family right off the bat. We knew we were taken care of. They understood that we had nowhere to turn, that we didn't have contacts in the Seattle area, but they were there for us, only a phone call away, and we felt that immediately. And in probably the most challenging time of our lives, we knew we had a place to turn. So he's been with Kindering about a year and a half now. And we just went through, prior to the pandemic, the transition period of moving from that 3-year mark of age into the public school system. And I've got to tell you, I was panicked. I did not want to leave Kindering by any means. But I was so impressed by the process. It was such a smooth transition that Kindering had the contacts in our public school system. They knew the people, and they sat down with us and spent the time to talk us through what it would look like and what we could expect on the other end. It couldn't have gone better. And we were very excited to get him into the public school system, to get him around other children again. Then COVID hit. My son actually was able to attend class for, I think, a whole week before COVID hit. And once again, we were in the panic of, what if my son regresses? He can't get services now. And Zoom is certainly not an option for a child with Barrett's diagnosis and his special needs. So once again, what did I do? I called Kindering. I said, look, I know my son has aged out. It could not be at a worse time. Is there anything you can do to help me? And that's when I was first introduced to Kids Clinic. And we were able to be set up with an OT who was able to provide excellent consulting support to his ABA team, to us, and really think through how we could make this time that continues during this pandemic, work for Barrett. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. My son's regressed over the past several months. It's been devastating to watch, but I wouldn't judge my situation any differently than any other parent. We're all going through our own set of challenges right now. Everybody's situation is unique, and it's impossible to say my situation's worse than anybody else's. But what I would say is, at a time of challenge, feeling like you're supported, knowing somebody is there to help you work through these problems is everything. And that's what Kindering has been to us. And I want him to be happy. And I also want him to feel secure and to feel loved and to feel part of a community. And that's what we've found here. And that's why it's important that all of you support Kindering at this time, now more than ever, because of what it means to the families in this community. Everyone's struggling right now. So I'd ask that you continue to allow these families to feel like they're supported, that there's hope for their kids, that they're going to continue getting the excellent services that they've received in the past from Kindering, and just know how much it means to the child's development, and how much it means to the families to have a place to turn, especially in these challenging times.